Well. You're listening to Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright then, I may say words on point, straightforward. No jibber jabber, everybody forward. Issues, facts and solution. Get it at Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright, what other thing is a revolution? Get it on point with Professor Buitrón. Gloves Off, no nonsense issues, politics, community. A better men follow reader. Gloves Off, a revolutionary show with everything that you need to know with Professor Buitrón. Watch ya!
We're back at you in Gloves Off, and today I have a great guest, one of the pillars of our community, a great woman leader, Commissioner Judy Gutierrez. How are we doing, Commissioner?
I'm doing terrific. Thank you for asking me to come here today. I love your location and all of that, what you do here. I remember being on the Commissioner's Court, and your organization came up for the first time for funding, and
sure.
We gave you funding for the Savat, right?
Yeah, for the Savat. You all give us funding for a club that we're opening up at Peñitas. A club for the kids over there to buy the uniforms and buy the gloves and the shoes, and it was taught for free over there for the kids over there in Peñitas. That was a while back. That was a while back. And the county's always been helpful because this is the only, how can I say, outreach where we can touch base with some of the youth that can go into hard times.
Absolutely.
We need to keep that and preserve that. And I remember Attorney Jimmy Sandoval was actually the coach that was teaching over there. We used to go over there on Saturdays. That was his club. So every second and fourth Saturday he'll teach, and then every first and third I'll go out there. But he was the one that was monitoring and coaching that one, and it went great. And we had it for 4 years, I believe, and then they tried bringing it back, and it kind of died off. But we started some other projects with the county now, and the county is very graceful through third-party funding. Now we have some scholarships for kids to bring them off the street, and they get everything paid for, and we basically teach for free, and they just get their uniforms and so on and so forth, and pay for all that stuff.
I believe it is the responsibility of the county to fund organizations that are out doing outreach to, in the community, to bring in the youth and keep them out of trouble. There's a lot of drugs and so you need to be able to have organizations like yours, and county and city government's responsibility is to help those organizations that help the youth, and I really believe and I congratulate you for doing that, and so many years ago, and look, you're still here.
You're still here. This place was started in '88, and my father and my uncle used to teach for free for the kids for many years. So this is actually the first school of Savat in the United States. A lot of people don't know that, but it's the truth. And it has been the catalyst that it's blown up, and others have taken it in other places. My dad used to have an exchange student from Finland. Him and his girlfriend used to go to school at Laredo Junior College, and also in San Antonio. He was in San Antonio, so he'll come down because he only had classes over there on certain days. So he'll come down and was with his girlfriend, and they both trained Savat here, and they left to Finland. They graduated, both of them graduated. His name is Jan Lagerbrand, I remember that, in Pita. And they left from here, and they live in Helsinki, Finland. And they took Savat with them over there. Now Savat is driving over there with them because of, by way of Laredo. We have many that have done that.
Isn't that something? I mean, wow, it's an incredible story of how.
But that's how it expands.
Yes.
We have some great. It's good to see students because we've been here for such a long time. We've touched a lot of folks, and many have become firemen. Many have become policemen. Many have become law enforcement. I wouldn't say policemen, it's law enforcement in general. And many have gone to the Army, and sometimes you get the Christmas card. Hey, Professor, we're thinking of you. I'm over here in Afghanistan. And
how wonderful!
And,
that's a testament to what you do here, Paul. And
thank you.
This is wonderful. Congratulations.
And thank you all back then for supporting us as well,
Of
the
course.
county now for continuing that continual support, because we do need that. We do need help.
How wonderful!
And it's sad to see sometimes parents come in and they can't pay for classes. And you tell them, well, let the child come in and work out regardless if they don't have money. And some people say, Paul, you shouldn't be doing that because I do it anyway, come over here. But now, some parents say they feel ashamed, they don't come back. And some stay. And now we can at least give them some kind of help through the county and write it down, and now it's...
Oh, yes, because you can quantify the money that you're
Right.
getting, and it's like, it's working.
It's working.
You're helping.
So we can help them. And that's something that we need to do, everybody.
You're absolutely right. I think you and other wonderful organizations out there that do help the youth.
And now more than ever.
Now more than ever, you're absolutely right.
Now more than ever. But people, let's talk a little bit about you, because you were such a illuminary figure for the county at a time that you wouldn't see that many women in the political arena, and you were there. Talk about how was it that you got involved?
My gosh, way back, and I ran for public office in 1985, and there were no women in the commissioners' court. I think there had been one. Lily Perez had been appointed to the court. Somebody had passed, and so she was appointed, and so she served, and she was a good commissioner. And so I decided, well, I had a good friend, Honorary Garden, that encouraged me tremendously. He says, it's time for women. It's time for women. And I said, you think about that. And I mean, I have my own business. I mean, I have my family, all of these things that give you the excuse probably to say, I don't think so. And that's the case with a lot of women today also. But, I decided to run, and I ran against an incumbent, and there were 4 of us, and so I got into the runoff with the incumbent, and then I won. And then I had a general election talking about, no Republicans ever running. I had a Republican opponent in 1986, Mr. Carlos Zuniga. He was a very formidable opponent. He had been on the city council 2-3 terms, I think. And very nice gentleman. He was my neighbor, and so, we ran a very decent, clean campaign, and luckily I prevailed. And so then I got onto the commissioner's court, and then what I found when I came in was something that I never ever thought that I would. I went and I drove around my district, my precinct, we call it precinct. And on 359 there was a cluster of housing. They were not together. They were not. They were separate, and they were called colonias. And I said, well, my gosh, what is this? And what I found, Paul, that these colonias, the people that lived there, had no infrastructure. No water, no sewer, no roads, no transportation, nothing. And of course, you wonder, well, how am I going to do this? And and it all comes, you start looking into things, and we were very successful in addressing the colonia plight, the plight of the people of the colonias. The history of the colonias ever gets written, and it's very, very, very interesting story as far as I'm concerned, because I was part of that. I was part of that history, and so we needed to get legislation first, because we could. You see, there's a law that you cannot spend public monies on private roads.
Sure.
So we couldn't go in there and fix it. So whatever, or even look at housing or anything else. We couldn't put the water and sewer lines. The roads were not ours, or the counties. And so the colonias became a very big problem, created by unscrupulous developers that came in, and they started selling lots to people, and people that wanted a piece of the American dream.
Sure.
What is that? To own your own land, to own your own property.
Absolutely.
So they started taking advantage of that. I mean, I remember they had lots for sale, $50 down, and then $50 for the rest of your life. if that's what it
Yeah.
came out to be. And
Yeah.
so that was very, very, very challenging, you know, and as an elected official, I remember my first meeting that I went to the commissioner's court and we got out. Commissioners at that time didn't have offices, so we met at the county judge's office. And when I went in there was a group of people, and they were from the colonias on 359. And they were very, very upset because it had been raining for I don't know how many days, and the roads were horrible. They couldn't go in there. Cars were being ruined. I mean, they were having to spend an enormous amount of money getting them fixed, and it was like, you know, they said, "What are you going to do about it?" I said, "Well, let me get together with my county attorney and Road and Bridge, and you know." So it all started that way, and so we worked on that, and you know, there was a. I happened to be at a conference in Brownsville, Texas, and I sat next to this woman that gave me the answer to what I was looking for. Her name was Ann Richards. She was the treasurer of the state of Texas. And I started to asking her about what, you know, how was she handled, because she had been a commissioner in Travis County. And she says, "Listen, you're just in time." She says, call my staff member and gave me the, we're going to be having the legislation, you know, people are going to go to Austin, you know, because we need to help the people in the colonias. And I said, wow. So I did that. And so, you know, and I found out, got all the information. And so then I went to the colonias and we had a meeting, and that time there were no places to meet over there in the colonias, so we met under this huizache, and I was standing there, and I was seeing the people walking down from wherever they lived,
the different places,
and they came, and we said, this is gonna happen, I need your help. We have to plan a trip to Austin. They're gonna be voting on Senate Bill 2, the water bill that would give you the funding for the extension of water and sewer, for this colonias and roads. And so, okay, so then we got together, we got on a bus, you know, with a community action agency bus, and so we all went in there, we went to Austin. And I remember getting to Austin, there were a lot of people from San Antonio, from the Valley, they're from El Paso. Valley Interfaith was there, cops from San Antonio, that organization was there. They had organizations all up and down the border. We all gathered in Austin. And as we were there in the parking lot, I told you, you know, I turned around and I said, because we were there in the parking lot, so we're going to get down, we're going to have to go into the Capitol building, they're going to be voting, so we need to be there. And as I turned around, who do I see coming to greet us? Henry Cuellar. Henry Cuellar was walking down the steps of the Capitol, walking towards the parking, and then he came to greet us. And I told the people, vamos a saludarle a Henry Cuellar, porque él es el que nos va a ayudar con el voto. And so we got down, and he greeted us, he walked us up, he led us all, we all went, and he took us to where they were going to be voting. And that was my beginning experience with State Representative Henry Cuellar. He has always been there. And I appreciated that from him, because it was one of the most profound experiences that I had. I saw the light at the end of the tunnel for the people of the colonias. The bill passed, and then we started having to get into dialogue, because they gave us some money to be able to, to do feasibility studies. You know, I didn't know what the problem was. I just knew that there was a problem.
There was a problem.
So they gave us money for feasibility, which, you know, would tell us, you know, how many colonias there were, you know, what the size, all of the information that we would need to submit at some point, you know, for funding of the colonias. And he helped us. He walked us through that. So at the end of this whole thing, you know, once we got that, we submitted our application for funding. And that was another step where he helped us also. Because when we got to the point of funding, which was years later, we had a lot of things happen in between, and it's much too long, and there's a lot of information that it's in between there. But at the end of this whole process, we had to go to Austin to the Water Development Board because the cost per connection in Webb County was not what the cost per connection was in the valley, and they were using those figures to fund all the projects, and they denied ours because ours. I mean, you know, and so I went to Austin. I got myself before the Water Development Board, and I got there, and you know, Henry was there and said, and so we talked to them. He said, well, you know, we gave them the reason why it was double what they were giving in the valley, because in the valley the colonias were right next to the infrastructure, you know, to their connections of water and sewer. Over here we had to extend it for miles. I mean, so there's a big difference. So we got through past that also, and so then, you know, we got it funded. We started our project, and then Henry went to be Secretary of State, and that part of that story of the, you know, helping us with the water and sewer lines was very, very dramatic. It was incredible. The people at Colonia still remember, you know, what we went through. But then he got to be Secretary of State. We got money for water and sewer. That was it. So what about the roads? What happens to the roads? So that when I remember very clearly, I was sitting in my office, my commissioner's office, and the phone rings, and they say, it's from the Secretary of State's office, and it's Henry Cuellar, Secretary Cuellar. I answer the phone, and he says, listen, I want to help you, and we have money. What do you need money for? Give me a budget. What do you need money for in the colonias? And so we prepared a budget, and we sent it to him, and lo and behold, we got the money.
You know, those are stories that are what builds Webb County, and it constructs Webb County from the foundation up, because Webb County is now growing. Look at what it is now, Laredo and all the surrounding little cities. It's grown massively from those steps that have been going in there. But now Congressman Cuellar, he's always been helping everybody. If an organization needs something, he'll make sure that it is heard. And it's not the first time that he does it. He does it with a lot of other things, you know, and he's there on top of it to make sure that they take the proper steps. And if there's something wrong with it, he's the first one that would say, though, this is wrong, but if you guys go and fix it, we'll get some help over here, we'll help you all do it.
Oh, he'll grab you by the hand, and he'll walk you through whatever steps that you need to take to be able to get, you know, whatever funding you need. And, you know, we're very fortunate, to be very honest. We're very fortunate to have him in Washington. He sits on the Appropriations Committee, which, I mean, that's where the money is. And so every time you pick up the phone and you need, for whatever it is, there he is, and he'll bring money, Community Action Agency, to the Laredo Independent School District, to the college, to the university, to the airport, to the city, to, you know, for the law enforcement. Law enforcement's got millions of dollars. You know, we cannot lose that connection. I mean, Henry Cuellar has been a very effective representative. You know, he's been a very effective elected official. And, you know, for the people to think, well, you know, you go into the politics, and the politics is not going to give you where you need to go in this community. We have been very fortunate. And you look around, and there is not an agency. I mean, you talk about SCAN, you talk about, you know, MHMR, you talk about all of Gateway Community Health. Henry is always there with a check. He brings the money. I mean, you may not like him personally, but let me tell you, he's effective.
And more so now than ever. And you know what? It takes a person that becomes seasoned to do that. You can't have somebody that is going to go trial and error from the first base. You can't put somebody that doesn't know anything and throw them inside a lion's den, that's basically what it is. You have to be seasoned. It's just like in boxing or in savate or in Thai boxing. You have to amateur, you fight so many, and if you do pretty good, we'll put you in the regionals, and in regional you did okay, we go to state, and you start building that person up. You can't take a person that barely got the golden gloves and throw him professional, because he's going to get hurt.
I know.
And this is basically what in the eyes of some of the politicians, they say, I can do this. Can you really? From where? I mean,
you're absolutely right, because I hear people, running for city council, commissioners' quarters, state, wherever, and they say, when I get elected, I'm going to do whatever. But then you say, you have to consider there's other people you have to count on to be able to get your votes to do your projects. You have to learn how to work with other people, and that's what Henry has. He's learned how to work across the aisle. Oh, he gets accused of, helping, the other side, let me put it that way. And, Henry has learned how to work across the aisle to be able to get what he needs for his district. And this is what's important, Paul, is how effective you are. And that's why he's been so successful. I mean, I just cannot understand, people that criticize him for working across the aisle. That is what everybody wants right now. I mean, I hear, and I'm like everybody else. I mean, you're watching, today's events, and you watch the news, and what voters are saying. I want somebody that could work. Where they could work together. They're going to work together.
You have to understand one thing. Regardless whether this was said, regardless whether it's a right wing or a left wing, it's the same bird.
Mm-hmm. It's right.
It's the same bird. They both need to flap to make that bird fly.
Yes.
Understand? Without one, you're not going to do anything. And so when you have that and you understand that, if you're a Democrat, you still have to represent the Republicans that live in your area. And if you're a Republican, you better make friends with the Democrats that live in your area, because you're representing them as well.
Remember Congressman Bonilla? I mean, he represented us for a long time, and he used to come to Laredo, and I know that he helped Gateway Community Health Care.
Great individual.
He brought money. He was effective for whatever reason, and I think it had to do with his personal life. But we have now the opportunity, and we have we have Congressman Cuellar that lives in Laredo, represents not only Laredo, but he represents all of his district. And you're right, a lot of his district is Republican, and he has to learn how to balance that. And he's managed. So we need to look at what we're doing, and when we go and vote, and I'm going to put in a plug here, we need to consider keeping Henry Cuellar as our congressman.
Oh, he has our vote.
Well, thank you, because
he has our vote, because you have to understand the essence of where we're at now. It's no longer about Republican or Democrat. It's about, can you get things done? Are you efficient right now at getting things done? And if you're at the pinnacle of an appropriations committee, you're not in the bottom. You need that right now, more than ever.
But he's earned that. He's learned how to work with people in Washington. It's not an easy thing. There's 435, congressional people and congressmen and women, and so everybody's fighting for that same amount of money that they need to be able to do their districts.
Every election and every race is different. And people need to start learning how to recognize, research each and every candidate. Not almost because it's going like a blind. You understand what I'm saying? We have to realize they're everywhere, because there's great Democrats as well as there's great Republicans, and we need them both.
Yeah, of
course. And that's just the way it is. They're great libertarians, and we have to understand.
We have in this country strong two-party system, which makes our democracy stronger, Paul.
Sure.
That's what this two-party system does. We cannot be too you know, I mean, one party, that's what was in Mexico for so many years. And look what it got them. But this two-party system, strong party system, you know, where you have to earn the vote, and Henry's earned the vote, and he's earned my respect.
You know, and we went off and talked about an icon of politics, which is Congressman Cuellar, and seeing you admire him in that fashion because you lived and you worked with him.
He's effective.
You understand?
He delivers. He delivers.
And people need to understand: is a politician effective or not effective? If he's effective, you keep him. If he's not effective, well then, every couple of years they come back and they ask you, "Do you think I can do it again? What's wrong?" And if you can't change, well then we remove him and put somebody else in. But if he's effective, leave him there.
Look at Webb County right now, and look at 359, what has happened since we brought in the infrastructure. Thanks a large part to Congressman Cuellar and the work and the effort that we did in working with him. Because after that, when he went to Congress, he was able to bring, I remember he brought Kay Bailey Hutchison one year.
Sure.
And we had a meeting in the colonias, and she was just looking around to see what has happened here. And what happened to these people? They're human beings. She says, I know, we need to help them. So she went back to Washington and helped us with further funding to be able to finish some of the projects that we had. And that is just what effective representation means, you know, to be able to bring people together. So she was a Republican, Henry, and she came and she helped us.
Mm-hmm.
She helped us, and I will never forget that. But you look at what has happened in 359 in the colonias, the growth, the explosion of businesses and houses, and all of the things that come with it, the roads and water. I mean, good water, and you know, I look at that. I drive through there sometimes. I said, "Oh my goodness!" I mean, somebody is. We need to thank a lot of people for that. But if you look at the growth of Webb County, that is one of the things that I look at.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I know the colonias was the biggest part, and it still is the icon of what shines through your. But what was the hardest thing as a politician to do?
You know, sometimes you have to take very votes that are not. You know, you have to deal with a lot of elected officials. Let me put it that way.
Sure.
And at budget time, everybody wants, you know, wants and wants. And you know, sometimes, you know, the elected officials, you know, cannot take no for an answer. You know, because you know, you have your budget, you don't want to raise taxes. You know, they have more than enough personnel, but they keep on wanting, and so. It's like, okay, you know, we're not going to be able to do this. We're not going to be able to give you 13 or 15 new additional staff, but, you know, maybe we could do 7. And you know, things get a little bit dicey there, you know, and also, you know, just having to work with a lot of elected officials, you know. I mean, county government is a very strange animal. I mean, everybody in county government that's elected, even the commissioner's court and the county judge. Somebody once told me, well, don't you need to talk this over with your boss? We were talking about an issue that I said, my boss? I said, who's my boss? He said, the county judge. I said, no. And he says, who is your boss? I said, you that elected me are my bosses. I said, nobody else. Because, you know, you have a position because of the people that voted for, they voted you in. So that's why you're there. They voted for the county judge. He runs the meetings, and that's right because we have to have some order. But everybody's got, you know, we work for the people of our precincts, and that's what I you know, it's very difficult. You know, one of the most difficult things is to do that balancing. You know, to be able to, you know, to keep everybody happy. It's like your kids. I mean, everybody wants something, and when you say, well, I can't, you know, people get upset. But, you know, by and large, you know, we were able to have a good relationship, you know, most of the time, and, you know, just to balance the budget and have, you know, order, and keep the taxes down, because that's ultimately,
That's the goal.
that's it. I mean, people are paying hard-earned money to run the government, and that's what it is.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's probably the most difficult thing, that I think, happens, when you're an elected official.
What do you think right now, Commissioner? What do you think Laredo is or Webb County is in say 10 years from now? How do you see it?
I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but I think Laredo is growing so much. Well, you and I know that. I mean, international trade, has really exploded. We have so many. I think we'll have another 2 or 3 bridges in 10 years. We're going to need them to be able to take care of that international trade, and of course to vehicular traffic. You need to have that, to be able to have that, because people cross every day. So I think that Webb County is going to be, and we're going to be growing tremendously. I mean, I'm in real estate, I'm a realtor, and I see, what's been going on in real estate. And, we have subdivisions and more subdivisions. So that means our community is growing. Look at the school district, how many schools they've already built.
No, it's going to be more, and just look at our graduating classes. 1,000, easy. I'm being conservative on the number.
And I would hope.
So you multiply 7,000 in 2 years.
That's
that's you know what I'm saying?
It's a tremendous amount of growth, and I would hope that we would create good paying jobs.
Sure.
Where people don't have to have 2 or 3 jobs to be able to, to keep a
Against me.
house.
That's what, and you're absolutely correct. And right now with the crisis that we got hit, people are struggling, and we need to gather us as a community and help each other up and make sure that we stay afloat. Because one business loss, that's a lot.
Well, because they all have people that work for them, and one business closes, that means there's 3 or 4 families that don't have the money that they have to be able to survive, and then they have to go and to the food bank and rely on other family members, and maybe even move in with the family. They can't pay the rent. It's a domino effect, and it's, and we're there. We need to be able to help, where we can help, and hopefully, I pray to God that we will be able to open our economy soon, and that we'll be a thriving city the way we were before.
Absolutely. Commissioner, we're running out of time. It's always a pleasure. And
Time went back fast.
And well, Godspeed. And folks, remember, it's still early voting. We got 2 more weeks of early voting. Go out there and vote. Exercise your right to vote. Research each and every candidate.
And let me just say one last thing to the public. Elections have consequences, remember. So we all need to do our own, put in our own part, to be able to go vote. Voting is a privilege. It is a privilege.
Absolutely.
And we need to be able to exercise the right to vote. As they say, Willie Velasquez used to say, su voto es su voz.
Exactamente. Folks, until next time, peace.
Thank you.
The following political paid advertisements do not reflect the political opinions of the program or its associates. Any political campaign or candidate who wishes to purchase advertising can do so. Advertising is open to all on behalf of Gloves Off.
Hi Laredo, this is Carlos Perez. I'm running for Laredo College Board of Trustees Place 8. You can follow us on social media on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at CG Perez for LC. I look forward to gaining your support this campaign season and earning your vote November 3rd. Thank you.
Hello, how are you? My name is Celestino Marina. I'm running for City Council, District 5, and I would like your support. Together, we will win. Thank you.
Laredo College needs a leader, an educator with a vision to move forward for a positive change. This is why, as your candidate, I want accessible education, and most importantly, I want to listen to your concerns as a stakeholder, students, faculty, staff, and taxpayers. It's time for education over politics.
Vote Justin Hunts-Nusher Casiano for Laredo College Board, Place 7.
Hi, I'm Amber Avis Hinojosa, ready to change the direction of District 8. As a resident and business owner in the heart of the community, I know the pressing issues at hand. It's time to realize the potential in this district. Join me in the fight to bring change. Vote Amber Avis Hinojosa for City Council District 8. The future of our district is in our hands.